How did you prepare for yesterday's concert? What was it like?
Well, you, I remember you asking me what songs I love, right? Standards, and that made me think. And so I sent you a list, and then maybe a few weeks ago, you put a list of songs, and I prepare by, if it's like a standard, then I prepare by listening to as many different versions as I can.
Yeah.
And if I have the time, I like to pay attention to lyrics. I didn't get to do that fully with all of these songs, but a lot of these songs I do really enjoy, like these songs by Johnny Mandel and Michelle Legrand, and it's all great songs.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I prepare, and just playing through them.
Are there certain people who you always gravitate towards too? Like, if you want to know a song, is there somebody that you usually trust with the melody and the harmony?
Interesting. I think Nat King Cole, Ella, Billy, like vocalists come to mind a lot.
But an interpretation of Ella and Billy will be very different.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I like to compare and see.
Yeah.
And then there's I like Frank Sinatra too for these songs. And then of course Coltrane and Miles and Ray Bryant is a pianist I really like.
Yeah. There were some songs also on your list.
Yes.
That I could connect to him.
Yeah.
Recordings of him.
Yeah. He's one of my first people that I really gravitated towards when I was starting. I mean, music was always present in my life.
Yeah, your father is a pianist?
Yes.
How about your mother?
My mom also plays a little piano. She doesn't want to admit that, but she's pretty good. Yeah. And organ was her first instrument. So she taught some beginning piano students. Yeah. So I guess I naturally heard a lot of piano growing up.
Yeah.
And Ray Bryant was one of them. Something about the way he presented himself by creating these almost like arrangements within the songs. Sometimes they didn't necessarily have, or maybe they were improvisation, but they were so defined.
Yeah.
Just so beautiful to me.
Yeah. Is there a record that immediately comes to mind when you think of him?
The one where he plays Con Alma on it. That version of Con Alma is just so amazing how it develops these lines and almost shout upon shout upon shout.
Yeah.
It feels like. And then the one called Ray Bryant Trio, I think, has the songs that I really like. The Thrill Is Gone, not the Ray Charles one, but another version, and then Golden Earrings, and I also really liked Hampton Halls growing up too.
Oh yeah.
The album with the crocodile on it. Everybody likes Hampton Halls, I think it's called. Volume something.
Yeah.
With Red Mitchell on bass.
Oh, nice.
Chuck Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you read his book?
No, I didn't know. Have you?
I have. Yeah, it's a pretty intense book about him.
Oh yeah.
Getting into prison and then being pardoned by the president after a while. Wow. Because the president, I think Kennedy really liked his playing, so he got him out. Wow. And I don't remember why he actually was in prison, but it was some. Yeah. And it's interesting how he describes coming up in music and his influences. And it's a intense book. Raise Up. I think I have it here actually. This one. Portrait of Hampton Halls. That's it.
Wow. I have to read this.
Yeah, it's his perspective.
Wow. Thank you.
On his life. It's cool. It's always nice to have autobiographies because you have the real personal insight into not somebody else who thinks they're clever and writes about,
Yeah.
it's like if you see what, their personal perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Ray Bryant, and also in your list of songs, I could see the Nat King Cole connection also in terms of songs that I kind of connect with him.
Mm-hmm. Nat King Cole is someone I always kind of return to, but I feel like I still don't know much about, to be honest. But the songs that he would choose, many times I would be really interested in learning them. And then I see them covered by other people too. So, yeah.
Can you specify a little bit more your process of learning a song? Like let's take A Time for Love as an example, maybe.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, when I started off learning any songs, it was really like by ear, right?
Yeah.
So many times I started playing gigs pretty regularly since I was 12 or 13 at like some local spots in Monterey. And that's really where I learned everything. Like, and pretty soon I realized like I would get vibed if I was using an iPad or iRail Pro, like, and they're just like, you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so through that way, I developed this way of being able to hear chords kind of on the spot, but then also I felt like I was kind of faking through it many times. And then more recently, I realized that I have to go back to the songs that I thought I knew, but now let's take this approach by actually listening to like people play it and comparing, okay, so what is different, what is the same, and can we allow an opportunity to have, the space to go different pathways, and whether it's what the chords that you play or the notes I play, what works in the moment. And for A Time for Love, it's such a deep song, really slow, and I feel like I have to still learn it much more to
Same.
really
Same.
like no, but like yeah, because when everything is so heartfelt and like intentional at that speed and with those the heart of it is so true. So I don't know how else I can say but to really to play it over and over again, to listen to many versions and think of like kind of like connecting the dots, like of how can you go in a linear way as much as you can, like through the chord changes in not a weird way, like, but even if it's like I want to make as much of a smooth linear pathway through the chords. This
So
force.
it's not chord and chord and chord, but there's a connection between all of them. Yeah, but for that we need foresight in a way, like to see like, okay, I'm playing B flat major, but it's gonna eventually lead me to so and so,
Right.
in the next 8 bars maybe.
Right. Yeah.
But when you learn it, then do you do it at the bass or at the piano or guitar or?
More recently, I've been trying to play it on the piano, trying. But I usually do it on the bass, or I sing it through melody in the voice and then playing bass notes.
Yeah.
And that connection between the melody and the bass note is what guides me through. Yeah.
that oftentimes gives us the harmony already.
Yeah, all you need is 2 notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the really good songs,
Yeah,
oftentimes the harmony is explained through the melody as well.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's what guided me through the way I learned. I'm still catching up on really understanding the theory behind everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more guided by melody and how it feels, like how each chord will lead to another color, or these patterns in the standards, especially, like it would go to this way or that way and open up, feel more sad. That kind of feeling was more important to me growing up, and now I'm learning more the gritty behind the scenes. Yeah.
But did you have some kind of groundwork in terms of, theory about harmony? Was there somebody who showed you how to put things into context? Or did you do it by yourself?
Ultimately, the way I learned it best was through myself, but there were people in my life, and I would attend these like summer camps and where they would talk about like melodic minor and altered scale, and even if I hear and if I see how it works, it did not register the ideas of scales and modes. Like I would get the feeling and I would hear it in the music, but thinking like that it was hard for me, and still is. So when people, like this summer, I was placed in scenarios where I had to teach, and and some people would want to ask, like, so what's happening in this chord? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Let's check it out. Yeah, because I really think about major, minor, diminished, augmented, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then think about ideas or melodies rather than scale forms. Everything is based off the melody for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like scales. We learn so much about scales coming up, but we don't learn so much about the connection between the chords so much. And then oftentimes in the beginning, we stand or sit there with all these scales, and so what do we do with them? I had to get rid of my knowledge of scales in a way to really get more into the connection of these chords and how to connect them.
Yeah.
Do you also like with these songs? I listen to them so much that they at first before I even touch the instrument, they become an earworm. So I can't get rid of them. It's like I would go to bed and think about A Time for Love, and
Yeah.
the song would go on, and where am I in the form now, right? Because when you listen to it for such a long time on repeat, after a while it gets ingrained into the subconscious a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And then for me it's super fun to then go into the conscious way of, okay, let's see in which key are we, what does this chord mean in the grand scheme of things? How does it relate to the next or the one that precedes it?
Wow. That reminds me, another way I learn songs is playing through all the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Transposing is deep, huh?
That really, once I started doing that, I was like, okay, this is the way to learn, because then you understand like how these connect and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it really shows you quickly what you don't know. It's like, okay, let's play it in F sharp, and then you think you know it, and then you reach a point where you're like, I have no idea what's next. I have no idea. And that's the spot I always feel like where you have to go back to the original key to figure out, because it would come to you if it would be subconscious, and that's where you want to have it. I think if it's subconscious, then you can play, your national anthem in every key usually, without practicing it, because you just know how it goes. Not that I'm so attached to the German national anthem, but song or melodies that we all know, we don't have to practice them in all keys. But something new. It's nice to take something where you think it's familiar, take it into an unfamiliar context, and then really see where you're at.
That's right. And it also, of course, gets me acquainted with other parts of the bass I wouldn't normally play. So that's a big part of how I practice right now when learning a song. And the bass,
I somehow had a feeling for that with you, that I could ask you to play A Time for Love in 2 keys, which we did yesterday.
That's something like, especially my dad, who played piano, would do on a whim without telling me. And so I had to be super hyper aware and focused at all times. And it wouldn't be in a way where like he's just transposing just because he can. Like, that's not the point. Like, the thing is that keys all have emotions with them, and it can elevate the song in a meaningful way. And then there are times where key changes. It's like, okay, so why are we doing this? Are we doing it just because we're trying to show? No, it's showing a meaning. And I think that version of Time for Love really last night was great. Like that. Yeah.
It was a nice way to open the concert.
It was. I remember starting the show with a ballad, or ending with a ballad, is nice.
It happened yesterday, and I never do it. I never do it. It was just a feeling. And then also because, I don't know if you or Joey suggested to not have a set list and just just call the tunes, because I was like, we don't have a set list. What do we do? One of you guys said, yeah, just call them.
Yeah.
And that way it led me, because I didn't think it through, it led me to us to a unusual a sequence. I think we started with a ballad, and then we played. First set was A Time for Love, and then Gallop's Gallop, and then
I don't remember.
Two for the Road.
Okay.
And then we played With a Song in My Heart. And ended the concert with a ballad. We ended the second set with Stardust.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was last year, I got to tour with Aaron Parks, and he would start many times with his ballad that he wrote. And it just really opens the space in a way that, like, yes, you can go right in too, like just bam, 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 and that's a great way to start too. And then there's just sometimes where you just want to just hear everything out and open it up for possibilities.
I think I'm sometimes too anxious to do that. Because it takes courage to just be, okay, this, open up to that space, and and there's so many ways to start a concert. I think of a story that I heard of, I think Kenny Drew, who used to live in Copenhagen, playing there with all the jazz greats that came through. And there was, I don't know who was it, but somebody wanted to start the concert with a super fast piece. And he told them afterwards, no, it's winter. We just came from outside. Our bones have to readjust, and our skin has to. Let's play something medium just to get into it. Sometimes there's a physical and human aspect to it as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about yesterday?
I felt good, and also a bit nervous, because playing standards I don't get to do as much anymore.
Same.
And to play songs that have been played before by such greats and your peers, and it I feel like it reveals a lot
Oh yeah.
about us.
Yes.
And yeah, it felt very like kind of open, kind of raw to be playing these songs. And also, like, I really liked playing with you and Joey, but it was also our first time ever playing.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, so how do I play? Like, what part of the beat should I play in relation to Joey?
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've really heard, I mean, I've heard him on records, I believe, but like knowing how it feels to play with him, like I never got that experience before. So
yeah,
it's like, how do we keep this intensity going without me rushing or yeah, or sometimes like I feel that it may be rushing or dragging or something, but then when I listen back, it's actually not. It's, I never know like what's going on almost. I mean, I do, but hearing it from an audience perspective is hard to do when you're playing. And yet that's what I try to imagine myself in the moment. Like, what does this sound like if I'm in the back of the room?
Yeah.
And trying to remove myself from just bass, 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 but thinking from a bigger picture and seeing, okay, I'll be in this part of the beat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I can relate to that. I was also like playing standards is like in a way it's something that I spend most time with here at home learning songs, you know, but then I never get to play them. I recently made, after all these years with my trio playing my own music, I made a standards album just to also have that challenge for us as a trio, and also to pay respects to this music. But in general, I never really get to do it unless it's like a private session or something.
Yeah.
But on a concert, it usually shows you where you're at. And then I felt like playing this music with you, but also with Joey, who I've been listening to for so long, and who have been listening to play standards with all the greats. You know, I felt like a bit overwhelmed at times, and of course I was second guessing things. And then on top of that is which I like, is that first meeting of people. You know, how do we quickly find a common ground? How do we, feel each other out? There's this spectrum of politeness, and it's your turn. Yeah, we're feeling each other out. But then also there's like, okay, I'm gonna take that space, or I'm gonna, push you into something, and there's a gradual, I guess it's just getting to know somebody in front of a lot of other people, playing music that we all love. But it's also a challenge, and as you said, we have these recordings in our mind, on our mind.
Yeah. It's like I'm always in the moment, I'm like thinking, am I inserting valuable information in the moment? Do I play more like you hear bass player, like I love, like if you hear like Afar, Gary Peacock, and like Richard Davis, and then they're playing like
Yeah.
and like, sorry, that's not a good impression, but like no, but like they're having all these counter lines, right? And I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. And then when I do it or try to emulate something like that, it's just like, am I getting in the way? Like, so I think naturally I tend to stick to bass. But I'm starting to stretch out more, I think, and think about ways how I can take ownership in the space. So, yeah.
It's a process, huh?
It is a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for checking out this episode. If you enjoy these conversations, please consider joining me on patreon.com/pabloheld. My Patreon community helps me to pay for the running costs of this podcast and to develop it further into the future. There's 2 ways to join me there. The interview tier will give you access to lots of behind-the-scenes content. And also you get every episode before everybody else, so that's early access to episodes. The other option is the music lessons tier, which will give you everything from the interviews tier, plus 2 video lessons on different topics each month. Lead sheets, so whenever I transcribe a new song, you'll get it first. You'll be invited to listening sessions and much more. So these are 2 options for you to join me there. By doing that, you will be helping me to continue this podcast. So thank you, and let's get back to the episode. I could feel you and also Joey like listen super hard the whole time. That's a nice feeling, right? It's a sign of respect. Just on a basic human interaction level, it's like when you notice that somebody's really listening.
Like how does that feel like when, or like, yeah, what is it, how do I phrase this? How do you get the sense that we are listening, I guess?
Yeah. So sometimes there's the very, very in your face way where somebody's playing something back at you, which is maybe not the nicest way to show that you're listening. Like, I heard what you said, here's it again, we don't want that so much, but when you hear that the things that you do or that I do resonate with somebody, and I see that whatever I did has made an effect and influenced the next thing that you do. And there was a lot of moments where I felt like, especially in the slower pieces, where we kind of handled the time together, hand in hand, without doing this together. It was more like, it's just a basic moment, but like boom, boom, push, you know what I mean? Where in order to be able to do that, we all have to go in our ears, hand in hand, without having to play the same rhythmic thing together, without hammering it down into our ears. It's like, no, you played that, that means I can play it here, and then you can play it there, These are moments, more obvious moments where I feel where you can feel it. But then also, like, when you have a conversation with someone, as we do now, I think I can feel when somebody's thinking of something else. Like, oh shit, did I send this form? Stuff like that. Oh shit, I have to buy groceries. Or you can feel it with an audience, I feel. Yeah. When they're there.
Yeah.
I think they were there yesterday. I felt it, Sometimes you feel like, it's a bit unconcentrated. It's maybe people are distracted. Or you get distracted, and then you are not listening to your fellow musicians anymore. Like, I had played this gig last week, and I saw a person in the audience who thought they were unseen with their phone. And they had their phone like this while I was playing a solo, and I usually don't really look into the audience, but I did. And then you see this weird face with with the illuminated face by the phone, and you're like, but why? But why? We're trying to play something for you. You don't. And then I got caught up in that, and that affected my feelings, and therefore I wasn't as connected to my fellow musicians and the situation as I could have been. So and that, of course, that other people can feel that, and then this is a snowball effect, which can then again fire back at the audience, at the others who actually try to listen, because you see, like, something is off. There's something, we all feel the vibes.
It's so hard for me in performance spaces. I feel like sensory wise.
Mm-hmm.
Smells, sounds, textures, they all are a part of the music to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's strobe lights, if there's smoke fog,
Yeah.
if I see like cell phone lights or stuff like that, and I want to be able to make music no matter what,
Yeah.
in any situation whatsoever, and solely think about the music.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much these foreign things come into place, and really music, having people there is like a form of a ceremony together where
Yeah.
we're all in this same space and we are playing off of each other's energies, you know, whether they're making music or not. But so it is something I think about. So and you can't control everything. Like
No.
you can't control what other people want to do or how they want to be or how they want to present the stage, or
Yeah.
you can put it in your writer, but they're not going to follow it all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Sometimes I make it my mission then to get the attention of that one person. You know?
Yeah.
Like, let's see how I can get you. Yeah. Another moment where you can feel like it's similar to what I explained before, like where we can feel that we are listening together and going hand in hand, is like when somebody's finishing your phrase or making like, I think Coltrane talked about Elvin Jones as being somebody who dotted the I's and crossed the T's.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That sounds
And I felt like with you and Joey, there were a lot of these moments where like I needed help at some point, and then you or Joey were like there to finish that thought, maybe, or to create a counterbalance that balances that thing that maybe was like this.
Yes.
To ground it with something, you know.
Yeah, totally. Like sometimes I think about like ordinary objects around us, like this carpet, for example. There are threads that go here, like warp and weft or whatever, and they're always there, but we can have space and create different patterns. But ultimately, if there's not anything going on, there's going to be a void, and sometimes that void is okay, but there needs to be something that holds the fabric together.
Yeah.
You know, so I try to do that in my playing of balancing whatever is going on. I try to offer the bass, or sometimes if the drummer is more not as groove based, I can, or rather they are groove based and I can float more.
Yeah.
Or yeah, so just thinking of different contrasts in the moment. Yeah.
I really loved your beat and the way that you connect notes when you walk. Is that something where you could maybe show on the bass how you work on
it? So how I work on connecting notes.
Yeah, connecting notes and therefore creating this incredible momentum that it's so fun to play with, you know.
Okay, I guess I'll.
Do you want to try?
Sure. So a teacher I had when I was in high school in the Bay Area of California, named John Shiflett, he would make me work on ways I can go through the changes by only going in one direction of the bass, whether it's ascending or descending. I'll do tune up, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I'm going to try to sing the melody while I play a bass line. I'll play it normally, like as if I'm playing it with people, and then I'm going to try my best, I don't know if I can, to actually do what John would tell me how to play. Hope my jacket doesn't get in the way. Basso.
Yeah.
It's not a great representation of what he was trying me to do, but he wanted to make me think like, yes, roots are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
As bass players, we should define what's going on in the chord at all times. And yet, there are moments where we can gravitate away from that and play lines.
Yeah.
As if it's like a tenor line or something, you know. Yeah.
That's not easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it in a way that distracts whatever else is going on too.
So what helps you to center yourself?
Well, especially playing with someone else and noticing how they're playing. And if I find myself going too far away from the center, then I will return to it by playing the most simplest way of playing things.
Yeah.
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 It's hard. And I don't know if I have like a strict method of how I do things, but it's more intuitive in the moment.
I felt like, of course, now this descending thing where you're like either, you know, a whole tone or a semitone go up or down something. I could follow you easily note for note and see where you are in the, you know, that was a nice feeling. And also sometimes it creates the necessity for patience because like, ooh, I'm playing an E now, and the next note that is supposed to sound should resemble the tonic, or you know, or an F7, or you know, whatever, something. How do I get there, and what makes the most sense? Maybe I need two notes to make it work, and then arrive back into it.
Yeah.
And that creates not only that patience will give you, or at the same time it gives you the thing of, it's not just about the next note, it's about the next 4 or 8 notes, you know.
Right. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
because I want to be in the moment, right? And think only, what am I playing exactly right now? But then, yes, you need to know where are you going, essentially. Or you can stay where you are and let that inform the next thing, like any conversation. So, and it is also important to know or place limits on yourself when practicing. Like Ron Carter would do this thing. Many bass players are familiar with like only sticking with the 1, 3, 5, 7 of each chord, and then making
Or even
lines.
just 1, 3, 5.
Exactly, yeah. And that's hard.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's a great way of learning how to play good bass lines, because how do I tell the story as much as possible with 4 notes? If I had only 4 notes, what is the best way to provide an outline? And so, like, if I'm doing that ascending descending thing, like, that's not always going to show the most valuable information. So I try to use it sporadically, and so, but yeah.
Is there and what can help us for pedals?
Pedals. I don't know. I haven't really thought much about it, but they're like favorite musicians like Charlie Hayden. He would do like some notes that you wouldn't expect, but he would hold on to, and see how long can you hold on to that note until you have to move.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I've tried a few times. I'm not sure if I was successful, but these things you keep trying and see what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And
how about on a articulation or phrasing level, like the way maybe going away from notes? How do you create this momentum of this forward motion when you play bass lines?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about note length and how that affects the whole feeling of movement and momentum going forward. Naturally, when I was learning bass, the first thing that anyone would tell me, a teacher or a professional musician, they would just say, "Your notes are too long."
Oh.
And that was always kind of discouraging because I never tried to play long. It's just how I was. Like, that's how I heard it. And I think, like, there is a way to elongate your notes but still have a feeling of going forward too, and having just like how you speak. Yeah, you can. Yeah. There's ways how we can play each note, and thinking about how we let go, how we end, do we hold on to it? These little observations can help us think about just momentum. And otherwise, I don't know. It's something that really depends in the moment, who you're playing with. And yeah, I played differently with people. I felt like yesterday with Joey Barron, and just somehow in the moment, I didn't know if I was too much on the top of the beat or not. But I trusted that it would be good. And so, how did I play? I don't even remember.
You played great.
No.
But to me, it felt like I felt like a lot of sustain was in the notes.
Yeah.
But I love that. But because I feel maybe it's hard to say it's a rule of thumb, but I usually feel like more sustain is like goes easily hand in hand with the right cymbal, playing the swing pattern. I feel like sometimes that sustain is like gives that nice cushion for the for the cymbal to dance on.
Yeah. There's a balance too. Like, yeah, like I don't want to sound like like I want definition too.
Sure,
within it. So how do I do that? And a way of like really actually how you grasp each beat.
Yeah.
Like, and it depends who you play with. But I have this general way of approaching each note that I like to do. Yeah.
The other things that this teacher of yours, what was his name?
John Shiflett.
John Shiflett. Things that you still think about or work on these days at the bass?
I think that way of how he wanted to see through chords and connect them, that was really what I really resonated with. And what else? Like he was basically just like, yeah, you just play more now. Like that's all you need to do. It's like, but John, I want to work on technique and stuff. And it's like, oh, you'll figure it out. But it was in a way that was still encouraging and stuff. And he would tell me things, and he would use like just normal objects. I don't know I can't remember in the moment what he was trying to share, but he would use like, okay, think that you're this remote control, and now how do you affect the music now, or something like these interesting analogies and metaphors, and like, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What is something that you're working on now at the bass?
I am working on something. Really, like I mentioned earlier, the playing through keys, that does really teach me how I can play. So like, for example, like if I play a melody of any sort of kind, like one melody I like to play is this theme song of a garbage truck that goes through my mom's neighborhood in Japan. There's like this song that they play forever and ever.
Wow.
And just, the garbage truck is nearby when you hear this song. I looked up and it seemed like it's maybe by like a Canadian composer, and randomly just it got chosen as this garbage theme truck. Anyway, it's a nice song. So
yeah.
And then it goes on. Yeah. And so that's very simple song, diatonic and sweet. And then I just transpose it. See? And so then I stopped. It's like, okay, I didn't play this in tune.
Yeah.
It's not my bass, but still, that's not an excuse. And I just go back and play through every key. It doesn't have to be shifting in accordance to where it is. Like I can just randomly choose any key. Like
yeah.
Yeah. Now I can't even think.
Like it's a nice way if you just take one. Yeah.
Yeah. Or so. And this can be anything. It could be bebop melodies, which is really hard.
Oh yeah.
And like, just taking the familiar and placing in unfamiliar places. That's really how I learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
it's a nice song for a garbage
I know,
truck.
right? I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I like to take sounds, like ordinary sounds, like garbage truck theme song, and songs that my grandmother would listen to, and whatever I hear on the radio that may be stuck in my head or not. Nothing at the moment, but it changes from time to time, and that I try to just, okay, so why do I like this? and can I figure out why I liked this song or this sound or this approach, and how can I create, if I can create that again in a different way. Yeah. Other than that, what I'm working on really is the songs I'm playing and the bands I find myself in. That's the main way I work on bass.
Yeah.
Making sure I can play the songs I have to play.
Doing the preparation work for the next project that's going on. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. The other day I transcribed a song of yours.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What? Which one?
It's called Te.
Oh my goodness. Really?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh.
I was wondering, could we play it together?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it from Dana's record?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What a surprise. So, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. you.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
beautiful song.
Thank you so much. I realized that I forgot one thing was in here it becomes more of like a major-ish.
Yeah, I heard you playing a D there.
Yeah.
So is it like it, at
Like
first it's
how
like the B7 sus4 flat 9 and then it becomes more like a
and
or
yeah, it more like a E flat over B flat kind of situation.
ah yeah. E flat? No. E flat. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So but E flat major with the D?
More like yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
ah, okay. Oh, I didn't get that from the recording.
Yeah. But it was great. Yeah.
Cool.
That's just like a subtle little passing thing to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next chord. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that needs at least not more license to. One thing that happened to me when I was playing this, also yesterday, right? You remember when you asked me about the D7 over G?
Oh, when was this?
I think it was in one of the songs where we kind of. That was Two for the Road. You remember?
Yeah.
How did we get there?
Right.
Exactly.
Do I stay on the do I go immediately to the G?
Yes.
Like,
And I thought, come on, Kanoa, you're doing this in your own piece as well. You know?
I know.
Like
I overthink sometimes. It's like, am I doing the right thing?
yeah, it's a C in the melody. Yeah. But what happened to me when I played this, I wanted to show this to you. It's not that you have to change your song, but it's like what happened is like, and then I played like it. Played like, you know what I mean?
What do you describe that like?
This happened as an exercise, as a what is it? Accident.
What do you call that sound?
In a way, it's also like a sus4 flat 9 sound, but with the 3 also. And then you can resolve it here.
Yeah.
It's not as open or as bright as this one, where you just have the major, which is beautiful too.
That's nice to have as a option for sure. Yeah. Whenever I play this with people, I tell the guitarists or the pianists, and usually they're musicians that I love, and it's like you do what you want to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling. That's another way. Like that's another what we talked about before. Like where listening to somebody is a sign of respect that can easily transport to the other person without saying a word. It's just I heard you.
Yeah.
That offering of you do what you want to do. This is just a suggestion. This is another way to invite people in. I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like when I write music, maybe I get too specific in the things that I write down, and I actually want to get more closer to a way to write down music that where the song is so strong on its own, but it could be played by a beginner and an expert, and it sounds great. Like, of course, a high standard, but like the Beatles, when they write a song, and you just play the normal voicings on the guitar, it sounds beautiful,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be a incredible musician. to play them and it sounds great. But then you also could have like somebody who does something with the material and finds other voicings or other ways to play this, and it's not, I want to get more close to that, and I feel like, so that I can be as open as you when you say this, you just do whatever you feel, and then if you do that and say this to the right people, you're not missing something. You still get your song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like, yes, it's like great composers like Monk, like anyone will play them, and it's, I mean, anyone is kind of a bold statement, but still though, like if you hear like, say like a middle school group play Well You Need It or Baya or something, many times it sounds awesome, right? And yeah, I always think like, what's the best way I can present? Sometimes, right, like chord symbols doesn't really translate to what you want, so like you have to write it out as whatever voicing you're hearing, and then, but still I want to give the musician, whoever's playing the chords, the freedom to do what they want with what they see. More because I know that they're capable and they're probably way more, they know more than me, like what's going on. And so I give them the freedom to say, hey, I trust you with this, and just give it a go. And sometimes it's not what I hear, and I say, okay, what about like this? If you, I hear this note, is there, can you play that note within that? Then I get picky, but yeah.
Yeah. When did you write this?
I wrote this about, about 6 years ago. Yeah, it was, this is the first song that I really felt comfortable with, like presenting.
Yeah.
Writing is so hard for me. Like it takes forever.
Yeah.
And many times I don't feel like it's the authentic or honest version of what I want to say. But this, for some reason, it felt like, okay, like, yeah, it went through a lot of editing. Like this was not the original melody.
Yeah.
And so it just came out of erasing a lot of things and putting things in. I would love to get to the place where I hear a melody just as is, and before I write it down on the page, I hear everything in its entirety, and I put it down.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
receiving transmission.
Yeah. I am a vessel for the universe's creativity. Yes. Yeah. And so this te means hand in Japanese. It means tea in Spanish, and it's but yeah, hand, referring to my grandmother's hands, how beautiful they were. Like she was a hairstylist, owned a hair salon for 55 years at this one place in Japan.
Wow.
And like, just, you would notice like she would put so much dedication every day. Like she would make little bentos, like lunch boxes for her customers to eat while they have their hair appointments.
Wow. That's
just
a great
like
service.
Such a great service, a package deal. Like you come for your hair, you also get a great meal.
Wow.
Like, and she was so serious about it. And then, but then many times she would like not notice that she would get like cuts on her hands because she's so busy.
Yeah.
And like it wouldn't like really feel much to her, so sometimes she would return home and she'd get like bruises or scars. But still, that it's not ugly or anything, it's just beautiful, and it's honesty. Yeah. So that was the title of the song.
Very nice. Yeah, it's fun to play it, and I feel like there's a underlying harmonic grounding or something that lies beneath it. Is there a key that do you see this in some kind of key?
Yeah, what can you say it is in? It's like, I guess like you could say it's F minor or um uh,
Yeah, it's fun to look at it from different perspectives.
yeah.
Once we reach the G major, I
Right,
feel
it
like
sounds
we're in a G major for
yeah,
sure.
right.
And everything that happens after that could also somehow be there.
Really, especially in the end of the song, the way how it ends, I tell it not to end on G minor, but like a G major, a sus kind of chord, at the very end of the song.
Ah,
So
okay. Did you do this on the?
I think so. Maybe didn't come through, but
Or maybe
I
misheard it.
I don't know. But yeah, that's not the final chord. It might have been that I changed it after the recording too, but
I see.
I
Yeah.
can't remember on top of my head.
So, what do you want at the end?
Sus. Or open.
Not with the third.
Not third, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Then you can
C
imagine this.
major. Yeah.
This is so nice. I really like this. Ah, yeah. Very nice. Do you want to play something else? Something more?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could play something from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Revisit.
Yeah. Well, earlier you mentioned Everything I Love, which I love that. We could also do a ballad or more like try Gallop Scalp again. No.
Oh yeah, let's try it again. Actually,
Yeah.
yes. It would be good for me to do it again. It's gonna be very raw. We did it. This is such a challenging song.
Yeah. No, it's
Wow.
fun. Thank you.
Oh,
One more chance.
yes.
But it's gonna be Monk. Wow. What an
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
writer.
Do you have a favorite bar?
Bar.
A favorite bar in this song?
Um, um, bar. It's so hard. I love everything.
Yeah.
The
The ending.
yeah, that's a favorite. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the favorite, but yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth measure of the song. And the third and the fourth, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's so much in it, right?
Yeah. And then how it goes D, yeah. And then
Again, yeah.
Yeah, that
There's
part.
so much. Also, if you just play the melody. Also, what Monk plays is like he plays this voicing, which to me sounds more like a D minor 11.
Right.
So in a way, like D minor and then D7, which is sounds.
Wow.
But over A. Yeah, at first I didn't hear that subtle B flat 7 in between.
Yeah.
Wow.
So great. Yeah.
I feel like everybody, like I found this great Gigi Grice recording.
Oh yeah, I think I listened to that when I was preparing. I never heard that too.
Yeah, that was very helpful for me.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit more on point, this one. Although I think Gigi Grice also said like he wasn't able to play it because Monk wanted him to play a mixture of the melody, but also have him play all these all these things that Monk actually plays to support or to enhance the melody.
Right.
He wanted him to play everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting how that's like part of the melody, right? Like
Yeah. It's often with Monk, I feel like oftentimes people, and I included when I started learning jazz, I had a real book, and I would carry this real book to all sessions when I was a teenager, And so what do we play today, but the way it's written down in these books is like you have the melody if it's correct, and you have the changes which might be correct. I don't know. Usually they're not, but then you have all this stuff that's missing.
Yeah.
In between, which is part of the song, and that creates for me actually the real challenge of playing Monk is for me it's like having all of that information and then balancing out how to honor it and still doing whatever you do or think is your thing. How do I play the song without just playing Monk's version, or just what is the basic song, what is how I could interpret it, and that's a lifelong challenge for me to find out how.
Yeah. How do you have your own voice while staying true to the composer, right?
Yeah. But over the years, I found like the more I get into the actual song and know about it, the personal stuff that comes usually quickly after that. But it doesn't come quickly if you know too little about the song. So at first I was just, and now I feel like it's coming maybe, but still I'm struggling to play just the basic melody. Such a intricate song.
It's a good one though.
Yeah.
So thank you for
It was on
giving
your
it to
list.
me.
Who showed
Yeah.
it to you?
Micah Thomas.
Aha, yeah.
He had it for a Mesro gig with Eric McPherson on drums.
Oh, great.
So that was
Sounds like a great combination.
yeah, that was a fun gig.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm. And you also knew that it's club recording first.
I've heard that record before, but I never learned it. Are you speaking about this?
The Monk recording,
Monk recording.
the Live at It Club.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I've heard that song before, but I never learned it before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mike was like, "Yeah, I want to play for the gig," and it's like, "Okay, I'll learn it."
Yeah.
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 Wow.
But he wrote out a chart for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that informed me. Okay, so this is what's going on. Because there's no chart out there, right? Or as far as I've seen, like I haven't seen a lead sheet for it.
I haven't looked actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me it's always, I might have written down a Monk song on sheet music before, but I rarely do this because usually it looks funny to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then also if I try to play it how it's written there, it sounds, I never get close to it. I get closer when I just listen to it and try to play and come as close to him as possible. I don't know.
Yeah. Some things you just can't put on the page.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were teaching at the summer school, summer camp in Denmark.
Yes.
Last year, and you had some time with Billy Hart.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
So amazing. First it was summer session with Jazz Denmark's organization where they have all these amazing musicians come together from the local Denmark scene, or people come from all over Europe, it seems, to maybe one from China as well, and it's like really, and everyone is playing at such a high level, so it's really just like, okay, I'm here and I get to play with all these people, and I bring some songs in, some songs I love, and then I get to work with these great musicians for a week. And Billy there, it was my first time really like actually getting to interact with him, even though I've seen him at shows before in New York, and we got to play one song, or like a little faculty concert together. And I remember we played Body and Soul for one of them. So great. I don't know how to say it. The symbol at that tempo, right?
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
It was like, it's like the whole life is right in each note. How do I say it? It's so beautiful, like, and to feel that same sound from all the recordings, like I don't know, like the one that he did with like Shirley Horn and all this, like of Aaron, and so many albums I love. Yeah. And it's literally the same sound that I hear from the albums right here, like and he's such a sweet person too. It's like, it's so wonderful when you meet someone like that, and yeah. So yeah.
Did he tell you something? Did he give you any advice or something?
No advice. We we said, he says like, you ever play in New York? And I said, well, I'm playing with Joe Ross at the Vanguard end of October. And he says, okay, I'll keep that in mind. It's like,
sweet.
You don't have to go. like, but he's down, like in his 80s and is still playing. It's like, and such a such a generous like spirit when it comes to music, and this almost like eagerness to just like play, you know, like you know, like really young, like yeah, kind and generous, and so nice to be around an elder like that. Like that's what I was trying to do, like to get to know one of the people from that generation. Um, I mean, yeah, in New York, I haven't been able to really do that, but hopefully from next year, I get to play a little bit with Kenny Barron through this grant that I got.
Oh, cool.
And I hope that works out.
Who's going to be on drums?
Not sure. It might be, it depends who's playing on the shows that we put together. Maybe Jonathan Blake, maybe Savannah Harris, maybe someone else. So they're all my favorite drummers. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. You had this great trio with Savannah and Maria Gray.
Right. That's a great album. Yeah, and yeah,
I really enjoyed that album.
yeah, and yeah, Maria put me and the group together, and yeah, I hope to play with Savvy again. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. In terms of what Billy told me, nothing. But I remember I brought this little to one of my combo. I brought in this little transcription of a song I like called "Flip Swing" by this Cameroonian drummer named Brice Wassi, and it's like it's technically a 9/8, but if you hear it, you cannot easily place where one is, right? And so it's just like a great way of, yeah, a master class in just like how to feel this kind of more triplet kind of thing over time. And yeah, and then I think when it was Billy's turn, because all the instructors rotate at least once per combo on that week, and when he came to my group, like I think maybe he saw that I was doing that, and he's like, "How do you know about the Priest Wasi?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, well, no, a lot of my friends are into this music," and it's like, "Wow," like, but he knew who this was too, and it's like, yeah, it's like
Breeze?
Wasi. I might be mispronouncing, but you spell Brice.
Yeah.
Wasi. Wassy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Check 'em out.
Yeah.
I feel like with Billy, it's like when he starts playing, he starts at a intensity level where others stop. You know,
Oh.
it's like, and then the sky's the limit, like in terms of energy and
Yeah.
being focused and being there for you,
Yeah.
pushing you.
Oh yeah. It's like sometimes there's like these fills like like
Yeah.
oh like yeah the energy, you know. And he's listening so hard too.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's like, oh, you're one of those bass players who really listens. It's like, oh, thank you. Like, like that's so kind. But yeah, like he likes melody, you know, and it was just a great musician. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. That week was really special.
And that was the first real moment for you to teach.
Yes.
Was it challenging or how was it?
Well, technically, the week before that, I did a week at Siena workshop. That was the real like first teaching, and that was very, very challenging for me. How to articulate ideas in a way that people will understand, and everyone's different, so some things resonate with people and some things don't, and then it's just something that you have to keep experiencing over and over again and work on it. I feel like, but I learned so much just as a musician, just being in a space like that, and then with people who are so eager to learn and being around people like so many of the people I look up to who are also in those spaces, and then see how they deal with these kind of gatherings. Yeah.
It's always nice to see somebody else teach, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also love this in when you're on tour with a group and then you're doing a master class together,
Yeah.
and then you're maybe even presenting the music that you're playing on the road, and then often you hear, and then people ask about the music and the approach of each individual band member.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you hear them talk about the music in a way that you haven't maybe talked about before. Like, oh, that's how you see this song, and that's what helped you, you know, to learn this song, or that's what you're struggling with, or that's what you need. Sometimes we talk too little about what we need from each other.
Definitely, yeah. In most of my musical situations I find myself in, the leaders are so great, but they tend to not say much.
Yeah.
Or give instructions, which I think is why the music is also very awesome, and they put so much trust in the musicians. But then they say like these little phrases that really do help you play the music better and just like navigate you towards an understanding of your role, for example, in that particular space. For example, just like be an anchor, or be more of a floating presence in the group, right? Depending on what's happening in this moment. They give you this, yeah. Or like something like Aaron Parks told me once about, there's a song in, was it 6/8 or 12/8? And he was like, play the, I think, I'm counting. I think it's, let's say it's in 6th, and it's like Isle of Everything is one of his songs. And he's like, play the beat 2 of it, play the beat 2. That alone like shifted the whole way about I think about playing those kind of grooves. It's like, okay, so this beat 2 will change how everything feels in the groove. Yeah. It's not just like downbeat. Like almost the downbeat or the root of the chord can fall on the 2 almost. And that would change how it flows.
So in Footprints, we would get da, 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 da. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes if you leave something out, it emphasizes, or even the way that we all feel the one, then, which is not there, which is not played. We feel it even stronger because we have to feel it collectively to be able to not identify the two as the one,
Yeah, right.
It's inner
Yes.
inner feeling. It's beautiful. I really loved that I saw the live stream from the BIM house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with that group.
That's
Special combination of people.
So special, and I'm so grateful that's a recording of that memory of that tour. Yeah.
Where in the tour was this? Was this more the beginning or the?
It was the last show.
Okay.
The final show, and yeah, a great way to end the tour. I think. I feel like the night before we played at Ronnie Scott's in London, and that was maybe the highlight of the tour. So like, I'm still really happy with how the BIM House show turned out, but secretly wish that there was a recording of the second set of the London one too.
What happened there?
Something, well, to be honest, that was maybe one of the roughest times of my life, personally and family wise. Like a few days before that, my grandma passed, and she was like
This one?
yeah, that
Oh,
one,
okay.
and she was basically like a mother figure to me. So um, yeah, just suddenly without any warning, and so I was processing what was going on, and I couldn't return to Japan in that
wow.
moment. So how do I continue to play music when I'm not feeling what in any sort of mood, like to play music, right? And how do I show up in this kind of situation still for the band? And I remember um, in that moment, uh, sorry, it was just too personal, but like
Personal is good.
you know, like like from all of the congestion from the crying, I couldn't hear anything from my ears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, and from the airplane pressure, you know, like I was trying to let go of this really uncomfortable feeling of probably just sinus clogging or something in my ears. And I was just feeling pretty down, like about my playing because I felt like I couldn't really hear what was going on. And I remember Ben Solomon got me some Sudafed from like around the corner, and I got like a steam, like a cup, put it next to my ear during the set break of that London gig. I'm just like, I feel like I'm underwater, like physically,
Yeah.
like because I just can't hear anything right now, like from my ears, and like I'm literally relying on the vibration of the drums and the piano to like get through this gig. And then finally it clears up right before the second set.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, great. And then that, like, that just, to me, I was just like, yes, I'm going to just go for this. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, I think that was a really special
Wow.
gig. But looking, you know, back on that experience was very, very tough. And I don't wish that for anybody, you know, to go through a personal family loss while they're working or on the road, right? And then you can't necessarily just say, hey, I have to go right now. Like you're in the middle of a tour.
Yeah.
Just how it is, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Were you able to go back to the funeral after that?
Luckily, made it in time right after Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Just flew the next morning. Went through Turkey. It's a very long flight going that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
How is it to play with RJ?
So great. Like,
You sounded amazing together.
yeah, thank you. Like, I enjoyed it. Yeah, like he's one of the most amazing like drummers I've experienced playing next to, like at that volume with still that intensity, right? And condensed, like, how do I say it? Um, I don't know, but how to put into words. But he's so subtle and sensitive as a musician, and it instantly felt good, you know, just to play it. I think we only played a rehearsal before the tour, so that was my first time playing with him. And throughout the tour, how it went there, yeah. But I think we instantly kind of found a space together, yeah.
Great. What is something, if somebody puts a sheet in front of you, what is something that helps you to quickly get a connection to that song and your role in it, and also to just play what's written?
Yeah.
While making music, or the other way around, making music while playing what's written.
Yeah. Um, I appreciate, well, if I get into more like technical things, picky things about font size
Mm-hmm.
and how that really does affect, for me, like the chord symbol, if there are chord symbols, to be present enough so that I can intake the melody and the chord at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. Um, More often nowadays, I'm getting less chord symbols when I receive music from people, even if I can clearly hear there's a chord going on in the music. And looking from, if there's a bass line, I can tell in the moment when I hear the piano playing. But like people would sometimes present like a upright bass chart without the melody. And
Yeah.
that's okay sometimes, but I really would like to see what's going on in the melody.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything going on in the drums, drum grooves are very helpful too for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes if the song is long and it turns out to be like 5 pages or something
Mm-hmm.
with all the parts, then sure, we can condense them. I just want clarity,
Yeah.
basically. That's all.
Yeah.
And I'm not all that picky about like font templates or how the margins look or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
if it's visible, if the chord, what I have to play is visible
Mm-hmm.
to my eyes, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's clear when the melody is convincing, then I I can work with that. And if of course there's any descriptions of feel, or it doesn't have to be like, oh, play a Elvin in three, like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to put people's names or
Yeah.
like references necessarily.
Yeah.
It could help maybe, but how do you write down what you want on the page, right? And sometimes people actually write out bass lines, and that's
Yeah.
helpful too.
Yeah.
What do you like to put in your songs? Like,
Yeah. I'm trying to feel it out for each song.
yeah.
I have some songs where I write down everything.
Mm,
Usually, everything that I write down is usually what is played on the piano,
yeah.
and then sometimes there's stuff in other songs. There's stuff where I have specific things for the bass, which isn't in the piano,
Yeah.
also. And then there's songs where I write it down like this, like a lead sheet type, where it's a melody plus chord symbols, and this is enough then to make the song happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I obsess over that topic, like how to write it down that
Yeah.
people can quickly understand it and get a sense, maybe even without um, instructions. Instructions in terms of how you said about feel and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you said, like if the melody is convincing or the song itself is
Mm-hmm.
convincing, we have this phenomenon of it plays itself,
Yeah.
because why would you play it differently? Or of course we have to go here,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's hard, but I try to. That's my goal. That
Mm-hmm.
it's so clear, even when it's complex. You know, uh, that it's so clear that it has to go there. That it's not interchangeable. Although I invite, spontaneous interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
but that the song itself can stand on its own. You know,
Yeah.
and then sometimes I write down chord symbols, and sometimes I specifically don't, because I kind of like the mystery, or
Yeah.
that feeling of let's let's hear how it sounds like when Kanoa figures out what the chord is
Mm-hmm.
by playing it.
Yeah.
By playing that bass line, or by playing with that voicing that I've
Mm.
written down. Like, let's see how that sounds.
Yeah.
And that process can be then the compositional process is still ongoing together in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah. Some of my favorite like music I've played so far doesn't have bass like chord symbols,
Mm-hmm.
right? My friend Kalia Vandiver,
Mm-hmm.
really awesome trombonist and
Mm-hmm.
composer, and we did an album recently, and yeah, not always were there chord symbols.
Yeah.
And that allowed for like this openness. Well, you can hear what's going on when you hear the parts of what the trombone's playing. Like we said earlier about you need two notes to make harmony, right?
Mm-hmm.
So similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's so personal what a chord symbol or no chord symbol does to a certain person, to a certain kind of player. Like when you see a C minor 7, for a lot of people, that already excludes certain notes. You know what I mean? Or that will bring them with them automatic stuff that immediately comes, like voicings, language,
Yeah.
certain notes, you know, of course. But then there's other players who they see a C minor and they can play an E with all the, you know,
Yeah.
and make it convincing, you know, and
Right.
make a case for it, you know,
Yeah.
and don't get distracted by it. Then there are players where you write down the bass movement and they don't play anything else ever, you know? So you have to see for whom you write, I feel, because maybe you don't want to have this bass line always, or you actually want to have it always.
Yeah.
And you give it specifically to this person to
Yeah.
have it always, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Another thing I just thought of was like forms, right?
mm-hmm.
For some reason, I have a really hard time processing verbal instructions. And if they tell me, like, okay, this goes 2 times, and then you go back, and then go to this, and then you go to the coda, and then you play that, I'm like, what just happened? Like, I have to have it written down that no matter what, like that form,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or I'll do it myself. But I'm like, so this, like, I feel so slow when it comes
Yeah.
to this. This goes here and
Yeah.
then there. Okay,
Yes.
like, I get it
Yes.
now.
Yeah. What really helps me is like when I've written down your song to not have the C part, which is repeated in the beginning and at the end, to not have it as an intro and to not have it as an outro.
Yeah.
Because I like to discover and how do you say, um, remember it
Yeah.
as a part of the song and not as something that comes before and after. Like some people like to read a chart with lots of returning parts, like a big band chart, where you kind of read from the left corner, top left corner, until the right bottom corner of page 5, where you just have, even if it's the same part that you've played before, you'll see it copied a couple of times, you know? I don't like that so much. I like to realize, oh, I've played this. It's also because I think of myself as not the greatest reader. So it helps me if I know that I have played something before and don't have to read it again. It's like, so sometimes I have a lot of instructions in terms of form on my sheets because I just write down the basic compositional material, you know, and then it's like, okay, 2 times C,
Yeah.
go back to it, you know.
Yeah.
But because once you know this material, then you can actually exchange the directions or the order of things.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. Yes, like, and then there's some people I play with, like Joel Ross, and what's on the page is not necessarily what will happen. Like over time, things change
Yeah.
in such great ways. Like we open up certain sections for endless repeats, and then there's a cue. But if you read the chart, it may not necessarily say that. We just discovered that over time. So, yeah, I value like simplicity and clarity
Yeah.
in any song. whether that means more instructions or not. Like,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that happens with working bands, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've rehearsed it a certain way, and then you play it countless times live, and then things happen, and it goes away from the original thing.
Yeah.
I recently had this thing where I was subbing in Melissa Aldana's quartet,
Oh, yeah.
and she sent me all this music, and I had trouble playing what was written because I was like, am I reading it wrong? And then it was like, oh, they're playing what's written on the one end, they're playing it on the two.
Ah.
And I was like, why am I not together? And these were all the things that I later realized that, like, okay, they had one version that she wrote down when they maybe recorded it in the studio or first played it, and then they made all these changes that are maybe written down in the actual paper sheet, but is not in the sheet, the computer sheet that I was sent. So I had to make sense of the beautiful other things that happened in the music that
Yeah.
were obviously coming out of joint experiences as a band. And then you don't have to explain it anymore. But then if a sub comes in, I had
Yeah.
to make sense of all these things. But it was a beautiful process to get it together, through listening to the recordings and studying the music. What do you do on a bad night?
A bad night?
Yeah, where you feel like, oh, this it's not happening.
Uh-huh. But I tell myself it happens. It's okay to feel this way. And I try not to, after it finishes, I won't dwell on it, It happened. And but also, while I feel like, if I'm playing and I feel that it's a bad night, I try to do like a few things, like evaluate from as a neutral place as I can get. Like, what is going on right now? What needs to happen to make this more happening? Like, thinking myself like as a listener, and just listening back and say, okay, so there's a lot of energy going on, and how do we calm this down, or whatever. I honestly, I haven't had really, really bad nights that I can remember, or maybe they've been completely erased from my mind. I'm not sure.
That's good.
Yeah, but also, so I try to evaluate what's going on, and if it's not happening, I kind of tell myself a corny thing, or it's just like, oh, remember why you're doing this, and you love music. Music is great.
Yeah.
And usually that shifts things to come from a place of love and caring for people who you're playing with.
Yeah.
And valuing the music and being in service of the music will change how you're thinking. Like, oh, I screwed up on this chord, or oh, I forgot to go back to that section.
Yeah.
But if you're playing with truly good people, then they should be understanding of that.
Yeah.
What's happening.
Yeah.
And usually they'll make those mistakes happen, like in a good way. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when I talked to Joey, he was like, also, he said, like, just acknowledge it's this kind of a night and see what this feels like. Also, because every night can't be the same.
I want it to be the same, but like
the same level. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I really do wish to get to that level, though, of where I'm physically strong and mentally solid for every show that I play. It's hard, though. Harder said than done. Yeah.
How do you deal with the bass du jour scenario?
Oh, yeah. I generally try to give people like what I want in the bass, like strings and the sound that I want, how I want it presented, but many times it's not followed.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I just accept that, okay, it's not going to be the ideal situation that I want it to be. And most of the
What
times,
is that though?
the ideal situation is like,
What do you tell people?
oh, what do I tell people?
Mm-hmm.
What I want?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have the requirements of the instrument itself and the amp situation. I tell them, I want an acoustic sound and I do not I'm still working this out.
Mm-hmm.
And for this upcoming tour I have with Joel here in Europe, I think things will be great because we'll be traveling with a sound person too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to really help. But yeah,
What do
it's
you prefer, like a low action or high action or?
it kind of middle to low.
Mm-hmm.
More than action though, I care about tension of the strings,
Mm-hmm.
and that comes through like different brands of strings are more tense than the other. So I
Mm-hmm.
just list them a certain, like, such as these strings, like, please place them on the bass,
Mm-hmm.
and don't place them a week before. They'll be too bright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's hard, and I'm still like considering whether or not the bass, the standard size is actually what I need to play or not. Like, I want to take some lessons and investigate that a little bit of how the size of this bass affects the way I'm playing and whether or not, because I grew up playing a 5/8 bass, which is slightly smaller than a
Ah,
standard
okay.
bass. And I also started on cello.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But now this is what I play at in New York too,
Mm-hmm.
standard bass. So yeah, generally though in Europe it's pretty good
Mm-hmm.
what I get, and not always in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like yesterday the first kind of couple of notes you played, when you took the bass, Joey wasn't there yet, and then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, yeah, listened to that, and I felt like, okay, she's getting acquainted with the bass now in a certain kind of way. It was very melodic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was wondering, is there? You didn't do it today, I think, um, but you didn't do today what you did yesterday, I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Um, is there something that you more often do when you get a bass in your hand, like?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Every bass has a completely different personality, and I feel like it would bring out parts of, like, I want to have my own sound on every bass,
Mm-hmm.
what I believe is to be my representation of the sound, but it changes
Mm-hmm.
based on what instrument you get sometimes, and it reminds you of your different influences and such and then you like gravitate towards playing in that kind of style or somewhat but in terms of getting acquainted with the bass, it's usually more of just like, okay, how is this feeling right now?
Mm-hmm.
What does it require me to do? What does it need me to do? Like, do I need to relax more with this certain string setup, or can I dig in more? Do I have blisters?
Mm-hmm.
Which strangely I have right now because
Oh.
I had a long period where I wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
What happened?
I was just traveling through California, and I had 4 days off of not playing bass, and then that's what happened.
Wow.
It's pretty
Okay.
sad, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like should not be getting them, but it's what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yeah. Did it hurt yesterday when you played?
Doesn't hurt, no. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so spoiled with this super easy instrument. Like it's not that it's easy to play for me, but I don't get blisters. I don't have to blow into it, you know. You just have to push a button and then it's there,
The
you know.
sound is there, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I feel for you.
It's something like and I feel like it's present still, like the feeling that you get blisters still, and I somehow don't feel like I'm a authentic bassist or something, but it's just a physical reality that I have of not being able to, like, I have to remind myself that it's not always possible to play bass every day, and life happens, and then
Sure,
doesn't
yeah.
go your way, and you work with that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna build this back up. By the end of this month, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And then we do the whole process again. Hopefully not. But yeah. The sound does change though with blisters or
Yeah.
forming calluses for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about what else I do to get myself acquainted when I'm in
Yeah, I
a new
was actually
space.
asking because it sounded like something melodic you were playing to get to see what I think you were playing something like or something like
Oh,
you know,
interesting.
and it sounded like okay, let's see how a minor third sounds and like how it feels, and then you know to have these intervals because that's another difference. Like they're all the same everywhere I go. Of course, they might be not in tune or something, but I know a third. I know a minor third. It's going to be there, you know?
Yeah.
On the bass,
Right.
going from one string to the
It
other
is different
it's
as
different.
you go up the scale. Is just the spacing is, and then yeah, like some basses, the neck is a different note than other basses. So getting yourself oriented with where each note is. And yes, I like to think about like, okay, so minor third, major third, fourth, you know, these combinations of it's like as if you're like almost like I don't know, a spider or something. I don't know, just you can like explore.
Yeah.
I'm not really even thinking about what I'm playing melodically right now. I'm just literally grasping a feel of what my hand is feeling right now and getting in tune.
Yeah.
This range is always hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I get right in the
into it.
center?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
yeah, so
I mean, when I hear something like this, I feel like intervals are so deep.
yeah,
You know?
it is
Sometimes when
the core, the building blocks of what we do.
Yeah, but we sometimes lose track of that if we go like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, play a arpeggio or something. We lose the track of, oh wow, there's a major third and then there's a minor third.
Yeah.
There's another major third.
Yeah.
You know, how great this sounds if we give into, you know. Like every interval and where it is on the instrument has a different feel that it might give you, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I want to play the bass again.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sometimes when I'm playing or just warming up, I like to just without thinking about any sort of pattern or key or anything, I like to just play a note and then hum a note in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just randomly. Or you can like pick a random interval and play a scale like. So, you know, just explore like that.
Beautiful,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like that's another thing I like to.
But when you do this, the thing that you're singing,
Mm-hmm.
are you aware of the pitch, what it is?
If I stop and think, then yeah, maybe I would know what note it is. But usually I'm more going from an intuitive place than like feeling of it.
But the thing that you play on the bass, you know what it is.
In general, yes. And then sometimes I stop and think, okay, so what am I singing in my head or humming?
Yeah.
And what is that in relation to what interval I'm playing on the bass?
Mhm.
But it's all more of just like a thing I like to just feel just without thinking about the note too. Yeah.
Beautiful. Sounds great.
No. Thank you.
I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I could find a way how to write these down one day, like, yeah, that's the challenge for me is to write songs and stick with ideas that I hear.
Yeah.
And stay committed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same. I feel the same.
Yeah.
I often get carried away and feel like, now something new has to happen, and
yeah.
why just stick to the one thing that that
Yeah.
where this idea came from.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you take a lot of lessons when you went to New York?
New York. Yeah, I got to study with Ben Wolf through this. I didn't go to Juilliard officially. Like I was a exchange student through my main school was Columbia University, and then there was a way where you could take lessons and be in combo classes at Juilliard. And I did that for 2 years. And then it just got a little too overwhelming with the schools, workload. So unfortunately, I had to stop. But I got to study with Ben Wolf during that time and also be in studio classes with Ron Carter, which were really cool. So group-based lessons, we basically just only played Bach duets the whole time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Taking turns and playing Bach duets.
Yeah.
That's it. With Ben, the assignment every week was learn a tune, sing the melody, play the bass line in two feel, and then play a walking bass line, and then maybe solo. But the emphasis was not on soloing because what we do as bass players, a lot part of the time we do bass notes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the emphasis, and I appreciated that.
Did Ron talk about how the study of those duets, how it translates to what he's doing in real life?
I wish I asked him that. I just knew that it was such a part of what he does.
Yeah.
I know he's really into Bach. And I can hear in his lines and stuff that he obviously has listened to Bach, and I see the similarities for sure.
Yeah. But it would be interesting to hear from him, how, if you give an assignment to a student or to
Mm-hmm.
students, there's also a thought in the back, like
Yeah.
how this could relate.
Yeah. I think he was at that time was very focused on our technique and solely on like if we're using the right hand form and the fingering. And yeah, that was not and still is not what I possess. So the focus was on developing good technique on the bass and using these Bach duets as a way to offer real music making while fostering a good way of approaching the bass. So,
Beautiful.
yeah. And then through Colombia, I took some private lessons as well with Ugona Okegwo. That was cool. He really talked about like more like things I was not comfortable with, like diminished scales and making alternate chord changes on standards that we like in a more like a Coltrane like 26/2 kind of countdown kind of changes, or you know, putting things that have been done and placing them in ways that we can do ourselves. And yeah, those were my main lessons that I took. Before college, I studied with John Shiflett in the Bay Area and a few other lessons, but they weren't that regular. The most regular lessons I ever had were my cello lessons when I was 10 years old until like 12 or 13. Yeah.
What are some of the concerts that maybe you can relate to this? I have concerts that I saw throughout my life that I can easily go back to on my mind.
Wow.
It's not note for note, but it's like the feeling that I had when I was there. I can tap into how I felt in my life at that time, and I can remember what these concerts usually showed me specific things, and I go back to them to relive the lesson in a way. Important concert memories.
That's a really, yeah, a great question. And at the moment, I'll let you know if I think of any.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember I was maybe 10 years old, and my dad and my mom, we went to New York for, I think, like the jazz convention randomly there many years ago. And Cecil McBee was playing in like a big band. I don't really remember what happened in that gig, but I do remember that as a kid, I was clapping so hard that my hands bled.
Wow.
Because I was so into it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of like what was going on in my hands. But I was like, ah! And I took a picture with him afterwards. But that's like the first show that I was so enthusiastic about. And I don't know why. But yeah, that feeling remains with me. And then I also have evidence of that show too, where I took a photo with Cecil McBee. So, but you're speaking to like concerts that you've attended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a concert for you that you remember?
I talked about it yesterday in the concert. Like, 20 years ago, I saw Joey Barron live with John Abercrombie, Mark Johnson, and Mark Feldman.
Wow.
And they had so much fun on stage. It didn't take themselves seriously, but the music very seriously. And I just loved that quartet so much. And they had some great albums that I used to listen to. And then I finally saw them live, was standing pretty close to Joey and the drums. And it just I mean, Joey had it yesterday too, that smile that he has all the time.
Yeah.
Which isn't a mask or anything. It's just he's so much enjoying the music and playing the drums and playing for people. that sort of joy that he has and transports,
Yeah.
that's something that I have to remind myself sometimes, where I maybe get too serious about the music, or and the way that they had fun on stage. They were playing this. They were playing this. It sounded. Something like this, like a three moody, slow three vamp to start a song, and they wouldn't start the melody. They just hung out on that vamp, and Joey was doing this also, like the way he plays brushes, and only you don't really see much movement, but the sound that comes out is like so big. So he's doing this. And then he took one hand away and still played the brushes. And then he kind of mimicked smoking a joint and handed it to Mark Johnson. He's like, do, do. And so that the imaginary joint went through the whole band until they played the melody.
Wow.
And it's silly, but it's beautiful as well, because it's like, it's such a great combination of being in the moment and acknowledging this. This is a kind of a trippy vibe and right now, and it's funny. That can be funny as well, and we can acknowledge that feeling, and we can also goof off, as I'm sure they also goofed off when they're in the bus afterwards and at dinner. And oftentimes we as musicians, we take each other and ourselves too seriously, like now we're going to perform serious music, and I didn't think all of these things when I was whatever, 20 years ago. I was 17, so I didn't think all of these thoughts, but in the meantime I kept going back to that, and and had these realizations about, just don't take yourself too seriously, have fun on stage, have fun with your friends, and don't, there's not a line so much between the way you treat each other at dinner or in the waiting room, and and then on stage,
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
it's something that I go back to. There was another concert in Switzerland where I saw Colin Vallon. He's a great Swiss piano player. It's just very basic realization, but the band was on fire. I don't remember which band it was, but he was playing Rhodes, and the band was cooking, and it was free, and it was energetic, and all he did was play a melody, and it was only triads. It was played in this super complex and energetic and wild situation. And it was so much energy just with those melody notes that I thought, wow, you can just play a melody on top of a super intense situation, and it can work as well. You don't have to go. Not everybody has to go crazy or has to partake in that. You can just also, play. And I thought that was beautiful. Yeah, these are just sometimes little realizations that you have, seeing other people play, like, oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This works,
Right. That reminds me now of a few concerts I've been to are slowly coming back to my memory, and just like, yes, that playfulness is super important. And then also presenting yourself in a way that like is so just solid and virtuosic without like running around the stage. You're just there and you're like solid. Just that presentation. Like a few people that come to mind are like Cecil McLaurin, Sylvant, and Cecile is so amazing. Just how she has the music like in the palm of her hand is just like
effortless,
and like I I saw her most recently in Vitoria, Spain. We were opening for her, so it wasn't necessarily like a concert I went to. I was there, but and we watched the show from the side, and it's so great. And also like Clayton Hamilton, like John Clayton and Jeff Hamilton's trio. Just how great it felt in the moment. You're like, it's like driving a nice car, like
Yeah.
like he has his sights of like, and you know that those are like memories that stick with me of the feeling of how good this music can feel in the moment. That can happen in recordings, but it's a different feeling when you're there in person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then like Emmanuel Wilkins quartet is like really awesome about pushing the boundaries of, like, they would stay in sections, endless, like repeating it almost feels like to the max, and pushing it to see how far it can go. And within that time frame, just such great like intensity and development happens in ways. It's really inspiring. Yeah. Those are just some of.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I feel like that is a reminder, like how much there is in the moment of a concert, and how that moment can go on after it's seemingly over. You know, we can go back. I can go back to last night. Of course, still it's very fresh, but I can go and relive moments. That's deep because that moment is over. You know, but there's things that stay. I also have it with interviews. Of course, we can go and watch them again, but still, sometimes I think of a conversation that I had, and that creates feelings and realizations, and it's beautiful how much there is in one moment. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for coming to play with me.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah.